our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque. Please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Good day, viewers. Welcome to National Orientation Agency Rivers State Dialogue, a platform where we sensitize citizens on government policies, programs, and activities. Sorry we didn't stream live on Friday. We had network issues from our service providers. That's why this program is coming to you today. We've been discussing 2023 general election PVC collection, and I'm sure a lot of you have gone to take your PVCs. If you haven't, do well to pick them up. Today we'll be discussing the electoral process and citizen security. And like you know, it's our thing to bring highly resourced persons into the studio to discuss every topic. Today is not an exception, as I have to my left DSC OLUFEMI AYODELE, Public Relations Officer, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Rivers State Command. You're welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you, sir. And on my right, we have Barrister Young M. AYOTAMUNO, State Director, National Orientation Agency, Rivers State. Good to have you in the studio, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, sir. So, again, our topic is the electoral process and citizen security. We'd like to start with you, DSC OLUFEMI. There have been a lot of pre-electoral activities. Have there been any reports of violence?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, our listeners. Thank you, our viewers. I must say that this 2023 election upcoming is a very remarkable one. It's a very unique one because the level of participation of the citizen generally it's very, very commendable. I think there is a level of awareness, the political education is there, and I must also commend the National Orientation Agency and INEC for doing a good job. We cannot say we have a pass mark now until when the whole election is over. But from what we are seeing a lot of participation from our people, the politicians, the civil populace, and in the collection of PVC, and the desire to participate, in the election. So talking about if we have gotten intel or information about violence, well, we all know that election in Nigeria in the past have been marred with a series of electoral violence and a series of agitations. So far so good. The security agencies, with the police being the lead agency in election duty, we have been working assiduously to ensure that we step down the rate of crime and criminalities. And during the campaigns, we were there, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, in partnership with Nigerian police and other sister agencies. We're always there to ensure that the campaigns goes orderly to maintain law and order. So we have not in Rivers State lately recorded any violence that is not under control.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Viewers, you've heard him. They've not recorded any case of violence that was not brought under control. Thanks to our security agents. Thank you so much. You've been doing a wonderful job. Barrister Young, sir, From observation, do you predict a positive conduct from Nigerians come 2023 election?
Yes, I do. I do expect a positive conduct from Nigerians, particularly the electorates. Just like the DSC has mentioned, a lot of enthusiasm is being brought into the preparations for the 2023 elections. Aside that, I'm also aware that the security agencies, they are upbeat. Like he mentioned in his closing comments, he said there's none that is beyond their control in the states here. And I also want to believe that there's none that is beyond their control. Our expectation is high because talking about election, there's pre-election violence, there's during the elections proper, and then post-election violence. But how we deal with the pre-election violence determines how it will look like during the elections and even post-election. So we are very hopeful. I'm further aware that as the police is the lead security when it comes to election matters, and that the police is also interfacing with a number of groups, part of which is the inter-party advisory committee, which comprises the 18 parties in the states. Also, the police have also been interfacing with youth bodies, community youth organizations. And I think about 2 weeks ago, they had a meeting at the police officers' mess. They are not doing all this alone. They are doing this with the civil defense and other sister security organizations. And by their own templates too, for this period, they also know the flashpoints. They are dealing with it both tactically and strategically. So there is no doubt. My expectation is that with everything that the police is doing, all things being equal, if the political class, that's the politicians, they can also get it right. My belief is that we wouldn't be recording violence. So far, we have recorded some violence in some parts of the states where campaigns were ongoing. So they said there was violence in starting with Omoma. Omoma was that of people trying to put up posters and being attacked. There was violence at Oyibo. There was violence only recently. About I think early this week, there was violence at Ahoda West, and it does not seem to have abated. So, but the police is up and doing, and with other security organizations, the civil defense and others, the police is also trying its best to contain the scourge.
Thank you very much, sir. Viewers, you've heard him. He said there have been cases of violence in some areas like Ahuda West and others, but the police is up and doing, trying to ensure that there's peace. Citizens should try to ensure that there's peace this period. Election is not war. Do well to just vote and not fight. Sir, INEC has announced a mock accreditation exercise in Rivers State.
Yes.
What positive impact do you think this would have?
Yeah, it will do a lot. It will do a lot. In fact, the mock accreditation exercise would also be linked to some of the security issues. I can tell you for free that whatever security skirmishes that we have experienced in the states in the past say 1 month, it could be as a result of people still living in the past, thinking that the narrative, the processes of these of conducting elections, that they remain the same. A lot of people have not known that we have moved from the usual system of accreditation, that we have moved into the system where now you have to use the biometric accreditation verification system, that's the BVAS. Biometric verification accreditation system, that is the BVAS. So instead of any doubts as to the identity of any person, we currently have a double check, either through the fingerprints if the fingerprint is not identifying the person who has put himself up as a voter, we also have some facial expressions that also reflect the identity of the person. So it's a double check system. There's no way both systems can fail. That automatically means that we have removed the issue of incidence form, which is one of the controversial issues, where your name is not seen on the accreditation machine. You are given a form to vote instead. So that has taken it off. So in that regard, and then the other issue of violence, particularly during the election, used to be the issue of Form EC8A, which was the results form. That's the on the day of election, you find out that rather than concentrating the election, parties in the past usually concentrate on where that form is, and that also causes a lot of skirmish. Now, INEC has also introduced another one, which is the IRF, that's the result portal, the INEC result portal, whereby immediately after voting and result is announced. In fact, even while the voting is on, the portals are also taking note, and immediately after the elections, they are also put in there. So generally, we expect that things will be better, and that there's a lot of improvements, and that during the period of election, that we wouldn't be having any of these incidences. So the process is so talking about the last point that you just raised, the issue of the mock accreditation. The issue of the mock accreditation is to see how the BVAS machine will work out. How is the BVAS machine going to work out? So like the processes, I've just given that background to let you know that they are going to try the BVAS machines to make sure that none of them, that won't have the voting process, and that even the escalation of results, that they will not have any hitch, and that everything will go well. So that to a large extent, if we get it right now, if there are any shortcomings, they will also quickly attend to them. By tomorrow, we are just about 3 weeks to the election, and it is important that we should take these precautions. We should take these precautions.
Thank you very much, sir. Viewers, you've heard him. We are evolving technologically, so there will be no need for violence in this election. You've heard him say it will not be the usual way we know. There's a different way now with the introduction of the BVAS and then transmitting results electronically even while voting is ongoing. So bear this in mind, that as you go to cast your vote, your results is being transmitted immediately. There will be no need for snatching ballot boxes or doing any of those. Thank you very much, viewers. DSC OLUFEMI, sir, would want to ask, with the introduction of the BVA, do you think there may still be violence in some units?
Well, I want to say that the introduction of BVAs is very apt to this particular election. It is an improvement on what it used to be, and we're approaching what it ought to be. So with the introduction of BVAs, I want to believe that the level of violence will definitely reduce.
Okay, thank you very much. We want to know, what do you think citizens need to do during this election to ensure they are safe? Apart from you doing your own part as a security person, we want to know, what should citizens do during this election to be safe?
All right. During this electionary period, it is very fundamental that the citizens should think about their personal security first. Because before you can secure your environment, you need to ascertain that you as a person, you are secure. And like we used to we use a slogan, if you see something, you say something. It is very fundamental for citizens to be very security conscious within the environment. Then the time we spend in going out, roaming, people should, as much as possible, avoid the aimless roaming about, most especially in the night, because this is the period of time that you see hoodlums and evil perpetrators moving here and there. You see kidnapping of little children. You see rape and lots of violence being exhibited when election is near or is ongoing. So people should try as much as possible to be conscious security-wise. Parents and guardians should also ring it in the ears of their children that they should desist from being used as perpetrators, formatting troubles, formatting violence, because we security agencies, we will not hesitate to arrest, investigate and prosecute whoever is caught that is engaging in any act of criminality in the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You've heard him. Security is everyone's business. Don't forget the popular slogan, if you see something, say something. Barrister Young, sir, what role is NOA and other partnering government establishments playing to ensure a peaceful 2023 election?
They're quite a lot. They said if you think political education is expensive, they try mass ignorance. And that is where the NOA comes in. Presently, we have scaled up our public enlightenment process. We are talking about security issues. One of the things that can actually bridge security is when people do not know how the voting system, how the voting process works. And so with the introduction of a technologically driven process, it's also part of the responsibility of the National Orientation Agency to work in concert with the Independent National Electoral Commission to bring real-time information to the people, particularly on the details of the process of voting that we are doing. We are also synergizing with some NGOs in the states, on the 8th, that is a few days from now, next week Wednesday, we are going to have a simulation of the voting process in some parts of Port Harcourt City, beginning with the Mile 3, where Social Action has graciously also invited NOA to take part in that simulation process. So we shall be there in the market to see how some of these things will work out. Social Action is an NGO that is linked with quite a number of other partners, international NGOs. So we shall be there. We are also trying to use every available platform to preach against violence. This week we are in the seminar organized for gubernatorial candidates by the National Human Rights Commission. So we are also there. We are leveraging on every available medium to make sure that we are there. Next week, we are also going to have a program on the 7th. We are also going to have a program with the Independent National Electoral Commission, particularly talking about the gender desk. So we also, within this period, for the National Orientation Agency, you are aware that the Community Orientation and Mobilization Officers, they are the arrowheads of the agency. So at the various spots in the local government areas, we are going to embark, already it's on, they're embarking on serious, aggressive enlightenment. But just let me add to what the DSC OLUFEMI has mentioned. So certain things are, from experience, very important. He just mentioned here that parents should give their children the right guidance, and that is important. Particularly, I want to add, parents should know what their children, those in tertiary institutions, are doing within this period. In 2019, we registered a number of issues associated with the students of tertiary institutions who, without permission, without any authority, were being carried from one state to the other, and most of them did not even know the purpose for which they are taking them to one state or the other. So parents should actually know what they are doing. And then for the citizens, where society is structured, we have the CDCs for our communities. The CDCs, this is the time for CDCs to take they should take a census, in fact a security audit of their communities. Who are the people that are just coming in? What is the purpose for them coming in? Because it is a period when there is so much migration. So we need to know who is where, and the CDCs have to work in close linkage with security organizations. Finally, let me also say that the ISIS is also up and doing. That's Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. They are also up and doing, and they are doing everything that is possible, looking at the various flashpoints. What are the causes? Who is responsible? We need to do all this. On the part of citizens, talking about the political parties, we will try our best to dissuade them from any form of violence. We'll go out there, we'll talk with them. If there are target groups to be met, we are going to meet with them, stakeholders. We'll do everything that is possible. Work with the NGOs, work with CSOs towards making sure that we nip every instance of violence in the world.
Thank you very much, sir. Viewers, you've heard him. If you think political education is expensive, try mass ignorance. You've heard both guests talk about parents talking to their children in this period. The family is the smallest unit of the society, but yet the most important. Parents should ensure to talk to their young children to stay out of trouble, avoid late nights, and not cause trouble during this election period. Thank you very much. DSC, sir, are there appropriate training of ad hoc staff to ensure that election is peaceful?
Yes, definitely. There is a series of training and retraining exercises ongoing. The resident electoral commissioner visited the state commandant's Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps not quite long, and he spoke with the officers and men. And presently, there is a training session that is ongoing. The security agencies they have been briefed. NSCDC is there, Nigerian Police is there, and the Army and other agencies and other ad hoc staff. They are there to know what is very important for them to carry out during the elections.
So from your observation of political parties' activities like campaigns, do you think that our security is threatened by the political parties?
One thing you should know is that the government itself is security, and security is the government. So there is no individual persons or group of persons that will be able to outsmart the security apparatus that has been put in place towards the election. Thank you.
Okay, so I would want you to add to that. You've been observing political activities. Do you think any of these activities threaten our security?
Yes, let's look at what politics is all about. Politics is a contestation for power, but it also has its rules. And you know that in any context, people have defined politics in several ways. Even though some people refinedly have said it is the authoritative allocation of values. Some people have also said that at the end of the day, the politics, the Machiavellians will tell you that almost foul is fair and foul, fair is foul. But that's also Shakespeare's position on some of these things that happen in society. So it involves a lot of context, and talking about this context, it's a game that involves scheming, intrigues, and no matter where, from what angle you look at it, even manipulations, because you are trying to see how you can best the that person's own interest. So it's not it's a game for gentle people, but by its logic, it also involves a lot of context. So going forward from there, going forward from there, we have also been told that it's supposed to be a sports, being a contest supposed to be a sports. At the end of the day, the idea there is that at the end of the day, there will be winners and there will be losers. Now, looking at what we have seen so far, politics, the 2023 elections, it's based on clear cut. There are laws, there are statutes, in fact regulated by the Constitution, and from the Constitution, the National Assembly had this derivative power to legislate on the 2023 Electoral Act, which they have done. And going into the Electoral Act now, the Electoral Act is very clear on things that the do's and the don'ts of the political process of the electioneering campaign. One of the things that I remember very vividly that is in that act is that the Electoral Act frowns at the use of any form of militia at all, any form of militia during campaigns. Secondly, it went as far as outlawing anything that has to do with carrying masquerades to campaign grounds and so on. And the Electoral Act is very clear on areas where campaigns should take place and where campaigns should not take place. Campaigns cannot take place in military formations, particularly in police stations. Campaigns cannot, and other security agencies. Campaigns cannot also take place in public offices, and campaign cannot take place in worship centers because of the emotions that these campaigns can evoke, especially in our spiritual centers. Now, what we have seen so far is that we have seen some cases of violence, isolated cases of violence that are said to have been coming up, and we need to do our best. We need to do our best towards making sure that that we get everything right. We have experienced some skirmishes, but we are still quite hopeful that things will be better. We are still quite hopeful, like the DSC mentioned, that everything will be okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barrister Young, for that contribution. But before we continue, we would want to join our correspondents from Ukraine local government, where we have Grace Kemjika standing by. Over to you, Grace Kemjika.
Thank you, Mrs. Patience Ojoma, the presenter of today's dialogue. Our dialogue topic today is the electoral process and citizen security. To discuss that with me is Mr. Chinwendu Elechi. Good afternoon, Mr. Chinwendu Elechi.
Good afternoon, Madam Grace.
Okay. As you can see, election is coming up on 25th of February 2023. I want you to throw more light about the electoral process and citizen security concerning 2023 election.
Well, thank you so much for this honor given to me. You know, just like what you are seeing, I'm seeing also over the environment we find ourselves, over the society where we're staying. You can see campaign going on from different political parties, campaigning, but there is something that they need to also put in place in order for us to have a credible election, because the security system of this nation, of this country, of this state, of each local government must to be pivotal in order for us to have a credible election. Why do I say that? Because if the citizenry are not well guided, there is no security for them. How would they come out to come and vote? Other days you see people coming with different things, coming with knife, coming to just to attack the vote. If the people are there and they are well secured, of course we'll have a credible, because they will come out to cast their vote to someone who they know that is my choice, and I'm going to vote for such person. So that's that. So if the security is in place, is well intact in place for the citizenry, of course, I believe we're going to have a credible election.
Thank you, and God bless you.
You're welcome.
Over to you, Mrs. Patience Ojoma.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Grace Kemjika. You heard our correspondent viewers. If our security is intact, citizens will comply in the forthcoming election. We hope that our government will do us good to enable us cast our votes on the election day. Viewers, while we were with our correspondents, we had a guest walking, a representative from the Nigerian police. Who wants you to introduce yourself, ma?
Yeah, my name is SP Tina Aroga. I'm the DPO of the division here.
Thank you for joining us, ma. We are discussing the electoral process and citizen security. Thank you for joining the discussion, ma. We've had our guests say a lot about our security this period. We would want to know, ma, what plans is the police making to ensure that the election goes peacefully?
Yeah, we've put a lot in place. We've had a synergy with other agencies and also the public to ensure it is free and fair without no problem.
What would you consider crime this period?
If there is much disobedience to law for others and fracas between the parties involved, and what we will need to do is to see how there will be peace among the parties involved.
DSC OLUFEMI has told us the trainings going on in their own security agency concerning the election. I want to know, are there any trainings going on in the police units concerning?
Yes, that is why we're having all this tactical men, the armed policemen, to ensure they are not they don't misfire and they take order from the appropriate authority.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your contribution. Barrister Young, sir, from INEC's pre-electoral activities like you've observed, do you think the body will give Nigerians a cause for violence on election day?
Let me have it again.
Haven't seen INEC's pre-electoral activities from the registration of voters, issuance of PVC, haven't seen their conduct in all of this. Do you think the body will give Nigerians a cause for violence on election day?
No, I don't think so. Rather, for me, from my own observation, I noticed that the electoral body seemed to be quite ahead of the electorates and in fact political parties in terms of planning. We have never had it so well. Of course, like we mentioned earlier, we have some technologically driven processes that are being put in place. The use of the BVAS and then the IRF, which is the result escalation portal that we are looking forward to. And like we mentioned earlier, there is also an effort to do some mock verification, that is trying out trial sessions for the use of these machines. It's not as if they have not been tried before. They have been used in the off-season elections. The off-season elections, like the last one being that of Osun State. So these technologies have been tried out. But now on a broader scale, we are talking about elections in about 30 states of the Federation, removing the off-season elections now, about 30 states of the Federation. And so these technologies need to be tried out. And why I said INEC seems to be ahead is that people, those who are still thinking about violence, those who are still thinking about snatching of ballot boxes, they don't seem to have known that the game has changed. These technologies have changed the game. So I don't see any cause for INEC to be restive. In fact, the use of the BVAS and the IRF has taken away about 40% of the points of the triggers for violence within this period. So what we expect is that the electorates should work in tandem with security organizations, should work in tandem in synergy as much as possible with INEC, including the political parties. INEC should continue to engage the inter-party advisory committee that we have, which is part of the structure in the conduct of elections. So I don't see INEC as having given any cause at all for people to. You can even see that INEC is proactive, responsive to the calls to even extend the collection of PVCs and other processes. Currently, they are already training. In fact, we have assurance as at Monday, that 90%, they are ready 90%, just giving a latitude of 10% between now and 25th February, when the presidential and national assembly elections will come. So there is no cause for alarm. It's just for the people now, those that are particularly affected, the political parties in particular, for them to up their game and work within the rules, because it is a process that is governed by rules, the Electoral Act. If you put yourself and obey it, you won't have any cause for violence.
Thank you very much, sir. Viewers, you've heard Barrister Young. He said INEC have been so proactive. Thank you very much, INEC, for all that you're doing. He said 40% of issues that could cause violence have been solved by the introduction of the beavers. Well, 60% is still a very high percentage. So he's saying the electorate and political parties should work with INEC to ensure a peaceful election. Let's all put our heads together and ensure that this period is a peaceful one. Like we always tell you, election is not war. Ma, before you came in, DSC OLUFEMI has told us a lot from his own unit. We would want to know, have there been any report of violence from pre-electoral activities to the police?
For the period being in the system, they've not been, no one is recorded. I can't give account of any.
Thank you very much, ma. DSC OLUFEMI would want to know what would be the penalty for citizens who would default some of the laws that have been put in place.
All right. I believe that every reasonable Nigerian should by now have acquainted him or herself with the provisions of the Electoral Law, Electoral Act 2022. So the provisions are there. I mean, everything that is stated as provisions as which is expected to be complied with. So it's expected that the electorate, the voters, should comply with the provisions of the electoral law. The security agencies also, they have their limits. There should not be infringement on fundamental human rights of citizens. Voters should not be disenfranchised. There should not be either security brutalizing the civilians. So the Electoral Act, captures every participant or every stakeholders in the election, both the citizens, both the party members, both the candidates and the security agencies. So every one of us should get ourselves acquainted with the Electoral Act so that the laws that are binding on individuals are being adhered to and comply with.
You stated earlier that you go out with political parties during campaigns, and you might have observed the coordination of citizens during this period. Do you think, from your observation, they would comply on election day to ensure a peaceful election?
Let me first of all say that our concern in whether campaigns or electoral or elections in general is that it should go peaceful, it should be free and fair, and that's why security is very fundamental. So, like I've said earlier, with the security apparatus that has been put in place, with the police being the lead agency in elections duty, I want to say that we don't envisage any violence, and if there are, we are on top of the game.
You've heard him, viewers. If at all there will be violence, they're on top of the game. We'd love to hear that from him, and we hope that really they'll be on top of the game during the election. Ma, would want to ask you, Ma, is the government and other security agencies making any plan to ensure a peaceful election, particularly the police?
Who are the government? Everybody is the government. We are all the government. And I earlier said there's all the activities, whatever we're going to do, has been put in place on that day. That is why we have rules and regulations.
Thank you very much. Barrister Young, sir, how would you judge the readiness of Nigerians to participate in the election, judging from their compliance to picking their PVCs?
I will judge their readiness put it at the 100%.
Okay.
And why we say Nigerians, we are talking about election, so we are talking particularly addressing registered voters who constitutes the electorates. I want to believe that they are ready 100%. One thing is very unique about this election. If you look at the statistics of voters between 18 years of age and 49 years, categorized as youths, constitute about 70% of the electorate. And that is because if you look at it, the generation of leaders, a generation is gradually phasing out, and with all the socioeconomic conditions that we currently face, there's the tendency for people to be more interested, the electorate to be more interested in who goes in there as their leaders, both at the executive level and at the level of the legislature. These two organs are the organs that are involved in this particular election, where vacancies have to be filled. Now, oftentimes we forget that the citizens, that's the electorates, that they're actually the employers. Oftentimes we forget that they are the employers of these people. When they get into office, they behave as if they are not employed by anybody. They are the citizens are the employers. So, talking about readiness, from what we have seen, the enthusiasm that we have seen, people going out there from the period pre-voters registration down to the period of voter registration, and we have had continuous voters registration from June 2021. We had it until October 2022. In fact, it was extended by a court ruling that it should be extended to October. It ought to have ended about August, but was extended. So it ended at October. So the enthusiasm is very, very high on the part of citizens. It's almost like we are going through another cycle of leadership. The people that are there now, that are going out, particularly in the executive, they have had 8 years. 8 years. So we are selecting a new crop of leaders. I know that the legislatures, they are not limited by tenure, but the executive, they are limited by tenure. So everybody wants to know who is coming to hold the shots when it comes to decisions that affect the lives of the people, economically, politically, and socially. And so the enthusiasm is quite high, very, very high.
So on a scale of 100, you've scored 100. Yes, OLUFEMI, judging that there are still a lot of PVCs lying idle in INEC office, would you also judge the readiness of Nigerians 100% like Barrister Young?
Well, I believe that every reasonable Nigerian who at this juncture are yet to get their PVC should do the needful.
So on a scale of 100%, what would you say about the readiness of Nigerians?
Like I said earlier, I said this election, 2023, is very, very apt and it's very central to the nation. And the level of participation, right from the collection of PVC registration, the level of participation generally has been very commendable, because the political enlightenment, the political education of our people has increased. So the youth, the adults, everyone is aware. And when there is awareness, there will be performance.
So you're scoring 100 too?
If you say so.
I would want to also hear from you. Judging from PVC collection, what would you score on a scale of 100?
Well, like what we're saying, most of us that is always outside, we saw the readiness of the youth this time around, and I believe it's 100 this time around. I believe.
Well, viewers, our guests have all scored 100, but I am not giving 100. There are a lot of PVCs still lying idle. Do well to pick your PVC. We can give you 80. The remaining 20% can still pick their PVCs to ensure that we all vote on that day. Thank you very much. Barrister Young, I would want you to give your final notes to our viewers.
Well, my final note to our viewers is, first, we don't have any other country other than this. This is our country, and we have to do everything possible towards protecting this country. And the election is not war. Election is not a do or die thing. If you don't win now, you contest. If you don't win now, there's the opportunity for you to contest again. And our own expectation as an agency, the National Orientation Agency, our expectation primarily is that people should vote according to their conscience. People should not sell their votes, and we'll do everything to dissuade also the buying of votes. And for this election, one thing that is very clear is also that the anti-corruption agencies, that's the anti-financial corruption agencies, they have also been brought in as members of ISIS. The EFCC and the ICPC, they have now been added to the membership of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. So we should be ready to go out there, make sure that we are not unnecessarily influenced, but go out there to cast our votes come February 25th and March 11th for the Presidency, National Assembly, and then the state governors and the state House of Assembly elections respectively.
Thank you very much, sir. Viewers, you've heard him. We should all go and vote with our conscience. If we all go out on that day with our conscience intact, there will be no need for security agencies to do anything, because we would not have need for them, because there will be no violence. So I would want to hear your final notes to our viewers.
All right. Security is everybody's business. It is very fundamental that the voters should please cooperate with the security agencies by ensuring that the maintenance of law and order in the units and the ward collation centers is being exercised. Youth, adults, every one of us should please stay away from trouble, because the security agencies are ready to do their job. And so, like I said earlier, parents and guardians should warn their children to desist from being instruments of fomenting trouble or electoral violence. This election is going to change the narrative of the nation, and we are ready to do our job.
Thank you very much, sir. You've heard him. Security is everyone's business. It goes with the popular slogan, if you see something, say something. Ma, I would want to hear your final notes to our viewers.
Yes, like my colleague here has earlier said, it's everybody's business. Security is everybody's business. Like what he earlier said, that we should do the right thing so that there won't be problem among the people.
Viewers, you've heard that, and I love that you call DSC OLUFEMI your colleague. This means that all security agencies are working hand in hand to ensure that we have a peaceful election. Viewers, you've heard all of our guests. Election is not war. Election is a time to celebrate and not fight, because it's a time to renegotiate your future. It gives you the opportunity to choose again who leads you for the next 4 years. If you're satisfied or not satisfied with the current government, it's a time to actually make your voice be heard. It's a time to say, yes, this is whom I want. It's a time to really tell us your choice. So instead of fighting one another this period, take your PVC, go vote for your own candidate. Whoever wins this election will be the people's choice if there is no violence. The only weapon you have in this election should be your PVC. Don't go there with anything else. Just go, vote and leave. Do not constitute nuisance during this election. Nigeria is the only home we have. Travel far or wide, you come back home. This is the only country you have. Do well to vote the best of all candidates. Thank you very much. This is where we wrap it up for today. Our topic today again was the electoral process and citizen security. We'll come to you again on Friday with a different topic. For now, we want to give honor to whom honor is due. We want to thank our executive producer, Dr. Garba Abari, the Director General, National Orientation Agency, National Orientation Agency. Thank you so much for all that you do, sir. Thank you for giving us this platform to sensitize and orientate the citizens. We would also want to thank our producer, Barrister Young AYOTAMUNO, the State Director, National Orientation Agency, Rivers State. Thank you so much, sir, for this platform. Thank you for your time, the consistency, and all that you do to ensure that we stream live every Friday. We appreciate you, sir. This gratitude will not be complete if we do not appreciate the head of studio, who doubles as the HOD ICT department, whose name is Mr. Briggs Arolele. Thank you so much for all that you do, sir. Thank you for ensuring that this program streams every Friday. This is where we wrap it up today, viewers. See you again next week, same time, same day. Bye.